to empower people, to motivate them, and also to be a representative for the kingdom, because that's the big picture, and knowing that for such a time as this, that people are going through so much today, and they just need us to sometimes just be quiet. Y'all know I like to talk, but sometimes he deals with me with just listen, just kind of be quiet and just be a present help, and let your presence be a help, and just allow people to come in and just saturate themselves. And it's so important to me that we make sure that our atmospheres are so clean and clear that when people come in, they can go in one way, but they need to come out another way, with a total impartation of if it's nothing but to be able to let some things fall off of them. Not that we want to pick them up, but we just want to be there to carry them and to know that we're here, because love is an action word. A lot of people take, girl, I got you. I love you, but they doing something different. That don't look like love to me, And that's one of the things that I just want to stand here and say today. And I know I don't have a lot of time. And Proverbs 31 is from 10 to 31. And it's a lot of powerful meat in this word for us as women. And that we would shift our mindsets even the more. That we challenge ourselves every day that the Lord touches us with the finger of love. That, we can rise up and say, okay, Lord, go into, like Jana says, your war room. Or, we done had war rooms a long time before the war room came. Because I'm here today because I know my daddy prayed for me. You know what I'm saying? And petitioning, because like Janice said earlier, I haven't always made great decisions. But when you are a person when you have a kingdom mindset, you wake up every day making sure that at least you're going to line up and have an ear to hear what God is telling us as women, and how we can represent, first of all, Him. And then when we do that and we stay lined up, at the end of the day, ladies, we are all that we can be, just for that day, and that we would just have that measure of faith. And that's kind of another topic for another day, but it still all kind of runs together. It's what are you doing with your measure? How effective are you being, first of all, for the kingdom, and then for yourself, and then for others. So I just encourage everyone today to just gird up, stand tall, be beautiful from within, and then all of that will radiate for you on the outside. And just know that you know that you are the bling of the earth. Amen?
Thank you. We're going to open the floor up for comments, and we'll start with our panel here. Miss Stephanie Draper. Hello.
I would like to ask a question. How did you start your faith?
Through my struggles.
Amen.
I would say through my struggles, because when you try it your way, you just try it your way, and you just keep running into you have the dead ends, and you realize, you just have to get sick and tired of being sick and tired, okay? And once you get sick and tired, you just look up.
That's right.
You look up, and once you look up, you never look down.
That's right.
Amen? So that's how I encourage people, is through my walk, and that's where my strength comes from. And sometimes I have to pull rank on the enemy, because I know that I'm a 4-star general in the army of the Lord, and I pull rank every day. Amen? And I shut him down. Okay? Yes.
Okay, I thank God for you and your words of encouragement. My comments are just a little bit about the Proverbs 31 woman. And as I studied it and read it, there were some things that just were pointed out to me, and I just want to share with the group, if that's okay. One of the things I noticed that in Proverbs 31 is that, of course, the whole book of Proverbs talk a lot about women, don't they? And so at the end, it's just fitting that it ends with talking about a woman with great strength and power and courage and skills. And one of the things I looked at was that her strength and dignity did not come from her awesome accomplishments, but they came from her reverencing God, her fear of the Lord. And when you're trying to do better, when you learn better, you do better. So, that's one of the things, striving to be like that Proverb 31 woman. The other thing I noticed that they didn't talk anything about her looks, as we do today in society. If you're cute, you're fine, you got it together. But one of the things that I noticed there was that her character, her beauty and her attractiveness came from her character, which is powerful for us. And as we look at her, she could do a number of things, numerous things. And I looked at that woman, and when we talk about don't compare yourself to someone else, compare yourself. But just looking at myself, I said, oh my God. It was sort of like when I was saved and I was a little girl, and I remember my mother said, don't do this, don't do that. And then what Mama said, don't do, I did. And when she said do, I didn't do. You might have had that experience too. And so I remember standing in the front of the refrigerator and talking to God. I said, Mama said, clean up when she gets home. The house is not clean. Mama said, don't go here, I do this. So I said, you know what, I can't keep the commandments. I'm just going to do what I want to do and go to hell. Until somebody explained it to me. And so I learned a lot. So I'm talking about this proverb. She had a lot here. But one of the things that stuck out to me is that if you look at her, it looks like a portrait of the perfect woman. The woman can do anything but fail. And then it came to me, this Proverb 31 woman. She doesn't exist, not in one individuals. These are descriptions of various things that we can all learn from the Proverb 31 woman. And I was blessed by that, because when I was trying to do everything, the Proverb 31, I was in trouble, just like when, salvation, I can't keep it. And so for me, it was freedom. So we can learn to be strong, powerful women with characters, with great wisdom and faith, to care about others and to care about the poor, like this Proverb 31 woman did, and to take care of our husbands, to take care of our families, to work strong in character and be friend, to know how to manage our money. So for me, this Proverb 31 woman, she doesn't exist in one individual, but we can all learn from the Proverb 31 woman.
Well, and thank you so much for introducing us with the Proverbs 31 woman, especially from your version and your point of view. My story is a little different. I ended up essentially finding a lot of myself in that description of the Proverbs 31 woman. What I'm most identified with was the fact that, yes, she was strong. Yes, she had a good heart. And that was one thing that, growing up, I kind of thought something was probably wrong with me, because when I said I cared, I meant it, but not necessarily everybody else around me at that point. But just to make a long story short, I was able to find strength in her. I was able to go through and take a look at so many different areas where it's like, okay, she sews, okay, and she works the fields, and she's very good to her maidservants, and she takes care of her family, and it's just like, okay. And of course, this was a few years back, but it and like many stories in the Bible, it gave me a better sense of self to read that. So I have Proverbs 31 in my bathroom wall, finally. But just to say, that's what it meant to me. It helped me identify where I was in life at a certain point, and from there, I just keep on keeping.
All right. Anyone from the audience want to comment? Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead. You mentioned it briefly.
What delivered me about the Proverbs 31 was that she had maidservants, and we forget that. She had a staff. And some of us try to do things by ourselves because we're more independent than member-minded.
So I love the fact that you say we can do it, because the Proverbs 31 has a we mentality.
That's right, that's right.
Anyone else?
There were two things that came to mind, and it's funny that Proverbs 31 is the foundation, because several years ago I did a study on the Proverbs 31 woman, and many of you covered, most of the things that came out. I have like so many characteristics, but two things stood out to me is that she was a woman of integrity, and she was very humble. And I think as Christian women business owners, it's very important for us to remember that when we're doing business, that we continue to stay humble, and we also continue to operate in the spirit of integrity. I always tell people that there are three things that I would not neglect and I would not go against within my business and within myself. I'm not going to sacrifice my relationship with God. I'm not going to sacrifice my integrity, and I'm definitely not going to do anything that's going to cause harm to another person, because I do provide counseling services. And I think as business owners, we have to keep that in mind, that integrity and being humble is two of the most important characteristics as we continue to lead and also build our businesses.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Something that just struck me as you guys were all talking, we always learn from each other, right? Was the Holy Spirit is usually considered to be like a male influence, Father, Godfather, Holy Spirit, and Jesus. But the Proverbs 31 is almost like a female Holy Spirit influence. And it's almost like God wants us to learn that the Spirit, this Proverbs 31 lady, the Spirit, like you said, can reside with all of us. And it's a female influence. It's not a male influence. And so very few places in the Bible do you see this where there's a female Holy Spirit influence. So I thought that was very interesting.
Awesome point. Anyone else? Phone call. Okay. We're going to change a few things. We've got a young lady coming in, Miss Shelby, and she's not here yet.
No.
I know. So we're going to have Crystal step in, and on our focus on wellness, financial wellness. I'll say this, I'm just being real transparent here. When Paul and I got married, I did not have a 401k, no IRA, nothing. He did, I didn't. He's been working for 40 years. So on our first anniversary, I said, you need to put something in our budget for my retirement. So every single month, it's a part of the budget that we have money going into my 401k. I learned something. I've been homeless. Never again. Never again. So when I say he sent me a man of his choosing, I know what I'm talking about. So ladies, I began to think about, as women, we're in business for ourselves. Many of us don't have retirement funds. We just don't. The money goes in and out, right?
Yes.
I call Crystal. Because we need to begin to focus on our own financial wellness. Crystal, you're in hand.
Thank you for sharing. Just before you take your seat, I wanted to look you in the eye and say, God bless you. And I say this, and I know y'all can look at me and go, oh, she's so young, she probably don't know what she's talking about. But in all honesty, we learn through some of the things we go through, right? Like you said, you learn from your struggles. God uses adversities for our good to develop us and to get us to where he wants us to be. And I wasn't privileged to wait till 18 and 21 to know what this thing called life and adversity was about. And you here, this vessel of empowerment, who understands wisdom comes from all cases. Thank you for your humbleness. Thank you for your obedience in giving us this opportunity. Thank you, Janice. Thank you. So, just to give you a background about me, I am a Texan young woman, born and raised. However, I did live in New York. I went to college originally for studio performing arts at the American Musical and Dramatic Academy. Hey girl. So you go, well, how did you get here? Like, what finances? What is that about? In the words of my favorite Golden Girl, picture it, Texas, 1991. I wasn't born then, I was already here. But at that point in my life, my family was trying to really solidify themselves in entrepreneurship. My grandmother and my dad's mother and their aunts and great aunts, they were all business-minded people. And they legacied us land with oil and all these things. And we were like, okay, what do we do with it? Well, they're like, you can't get it till we die, so get over it. So in the meantime, we keep a living, but our parents, their children, did not hone those same skills. Don't you know you can legacy bad as you can legacy good? It's important to know when we're talking about financial wellness, we're not just talking about how do I keep extra $10 every month. This is your legacy. When I speak with my clients, I say I'm helping you to live well so you can legacy better. It's so many of us, and I'm gonna make it plain, so many of us as African American women, we are so underserved with wisdom on how to really sustain our legacy. So today I'm sharing my story. My mother, my father, my uncles, they did not understand this financial wellness perspective, and they surely didn't understand how to legacy it well. So fast forward, we're in college. I got scholarships by the grace. Went to college 2 months before then, buried my dad at 18. Did not get to say goodbye normally. I don't know if anybody's ever experienced this. I had to identify my dad's decomposed remains, and I had to have my credit ran. My credit ran so that they wouldn't repo my father's remains, so we could bury him, so that we can even give him a decent funeral. Between college and even in the last 3 years, there's been a host of family members that's died in rapid succession, all ranging from infancy to mid-30s, due to heart failure, diabetes, you name it. None of them were prepared, but one. And that was my 36-year-old sister. She also died identically like my father. These are things I took to college. These are things I took into the life events that say, become a woman now. Manage your own home now. So aunts died, uncles died, back to that legacy, right? Lord, this has got to help me somehow. I got bad credit already on funeral expenses. $700, split 10 ways. There were so many of us. $700, land, property, oil, gone. That's all we had to show for it. And then when that $700 got there, guess how negative I was? Negative $1,472. Where did the money go? I did not understand this, and I prayed sincerely at a very young age. I said, God, I know you will us better than this. I know you've created us for better than this. This cycle, because it wasn't just with me, this is generational, okay? This cycle stops with me. Whatever that means for your will, this cycle stops here. I was your age, if not younger, sweetheart, raising 2 children, because my mother was gone 90% of the day trying to find 3 jobs to keep us with our lights and water on. Who's lived in a house with no lights and water at the same time? Bathed out of water bottles to get to school. I learned how to work then. I learned how to budget later. I want you guys to understand that first. Because everybody in here has had loss. Everybody in here has had to go, Lord, it's going to only come from you because I don't see it. We've all had that moment where it's faith tested. In the midst of that, I'm raising my sister's teenage kid. By then, I'm in my mid-20s. Who's 20 with a CPS case for a teenager? You are his legal guardian. Can't find his older brother. What you mean you can't find him? We can't afford to keep searching either. So what are we going to do as a family? GoFundMe. There are 1,800 GoFundMe accounts in DFW to help people subsidize or supplement their loss. 1,800. It is my mission today, by the end of today, that we are not those kind of women, those kind of people, those kind of families. That you have an understanding. There's a book in front of you, ladies, and if you don't have one, let me know. I will grab one for you. Everybody got theirs? This says just what it is, Blueprint for Financial Success. There are other blueprints we have too. They're called perceptual filters, and they're based on how we're raised, where we grew up, what church we went to, all the influences that help us make the decisions we make. And I want you to understand, this is a nice, pretty book I made for y'all. I labored hard to make sure it looked right. But this isn't the first blueprint I want us to talk about. Because before we can successfully deal with this one, we got to deal with that first one. My initial blueprint was spend everything you don't have, count your money before it's deposited, get a payday loan strategically to pay off a payday loan, to get a credit card to pay that off, It's not working. Been homeless 4 times before the age of 15 because we got evicted on Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve. We're supposed to be making dinner, having memories. I can't even eat the pecans out our backyard because they done took them out. Can't even grab my own clothes. Rid of possession. Anybody familiar with what that is? When the constable show up and say, now we finna move you out, and you can only grab what you can fit in that bag. Good luck. That was my blueprint. And I had this in front of me many times before, but y'all, I did not succeed with this. I did not succeed at all, and I tell you why, because I didn't understand how to shake the habit of our hands, of our thinking. I had the words, but I didn't understand the application. So, quick disclaimer, I am with New York Life. Here's my information. If you want to take a picture, I don't know if Janice is allowing that, but if you want to know, it's there, and it's also on my table. I'm centered out of both Dallas and Frisco, Texas, and I do kitchen table. Meaning, I don't mind coming to sit with you and your family and just having some one-on-one ministry about this. Most of my business is kitchen table. Okay? I'm very old school that way. I don't believe in taking the heart out of the ministry. So we have to say we're not here to give you advices on investment tools and all of that. We're not here to make you feel like you have to buy insurance with me. We're not requiring you by any means to do anything with regards to New York Life. I don't care if you plan with me or not. I care that you have a plan. A true plan that's going to really serve your legacy, okay? So just so you're aware of that. Everybody got your book? Raise your book up. We're going to learn to declare it, because you say speak it into existence, right? We're going to speak over it. This is my new blueprint. This is my new blueprint. This is my new blueprint. This is my legacy's future.
This is my legacy's future.
And you know what this tells me? It is not my money. This is my ministry. Amen?
Amen.
It's not my money. It's my ministry. This is not your money. This is your family's future. This is your vision's future. This is your ministry's future, your business's future. This is what this is. When I learned the tithing, everybody heard that about tithing? Okay, I always focused on the 10th. I would count it to the penny. And I would go, okay, I'm good. I did it, yay. And then Dr. Evans, I go to Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship, I'm not sure if many of you are familiar with that, but Dr. Evans did a sermon on tithing. And he broke it down, he said it's all his money. He just lets you use 90% of it. It's all his money. He wants you to learn how to use it for the greater good of the kingdom and your ministry. But you can't just ask him about that first 10th. What we do with all 100? Because it don't help that I gave you the first 10th and then blew off 89% of the remaining 90. So I had to learn, that was a part of changing that blueprint. I had to learn the prioritization of things. So it's all his money, I don't get none of it, it's all my money. I gave it to you, I want to will you a certain way and how to deal with it. So everybody has this, it's some great things. Purpose of today is understanding the value of one, your foundation. That's what we all start somewhere. We're going to get into it later where it says, think of your financial future as a house. And when you build a house, you don't build it from the roof down. You don't build it from the brick facade. You don't build it from the curb. You start with the foundation. Okay? And then 2, we introduce things so that maybe you know, some that you don't, some that you think, oh, I should probably start doing that again. It's sort of like a start, stop, continue. Everybody familiar with that? What should I start doing? What should I stop doing? And what should I continue doing? Because we can't just go don't, because we may take away the good things. And we don't want to do that. Because you may not be doing everything wrong, believe it or not. And then finally, also, we're going to educate, illustrate, and then what's the payoff? The goal, you're not going to get there 100% today because it takes implementation. Okay? But the goal is that you truly get closer to what God defines as financial security and prosperity for each of you. It may mean 2 houses for one sister. It may mean a paid off car for somebody else. We don't want to envy others' blessings, but just understand here's how God's going to use this to bless me. Fair enough? Okay. So, your finances as a house. Foundation. Everybody see where that falls? What's at our foundation? Our money. Whose money? God's money. Our ministry. It's cash flow net worth. And then you have risk management. Once you get it, you don't want to lose it. You don't want anybody and everybody taking it from you, especially if you're retiring and you're using it in aggressive investment strategies like stock market, 401k, things like that that can fluctuate pretty aggressively depending on how much you want to invest into that. You don't want to be reckless with that. You want to be very strategic and make sure that you manage risk well. And then also college funding and more enhanced retirement planning. And then wealth accumulation. How many in here know that you can be a millionaire? How many in here know, everybody's hand should go, you can be a millionaire. Your children can be a millionaire for $40 a month. For $130 a month, your teenagers can be millionaires. There's all these different things that can happen. Wealth is not just money. Wealth is also peace of mind when you have that money. Because there are many people who got it and lose their mind. So we want to be blessed with wealth, okay? All right now, okay. So your cash flow and your net worth, that's your foundation, that's your first level. And then you want to learn how to calculate that. So traditionally, everybody's familiar with this. I'm not going to read every bullet point on the screen because I know you women can do that. You're amazing and intelligent, so I don't want to bore you with that. But basically, you're going to subtract what you bring in versus what you have to give out, and that's what you really have left. And a good thing to factor in, ladies, I know they put it here as charity. That's a political correct term. Your tithes are considered a part of that. So make sure you prioritize in there your tithes. Take that out automatically. That'll help us stay true to our big picture. We actually advise our clients to do that. So if you have tithes or charitable endowments to your church or to hospitals or anything like that that you are committed to doing, take that out. I know most times they say that's an optional part of life. It's really not for us. So go ahead and acknowledge that there. how to determine your net worth. So what's the difference between cash flow and net worth? Cash flow is dealing with your everyday income, your everyday expenses. How do I live day to day, month to month, year to year? Your net worth, on a more frank way of saying it, is what happens if none of that money comes in? How do you keep going? Does that make better sense? If your job stopped today, how do you keep going? So we all know our houses build equity, right? At least that's the prayer. That is considered asset income, because now that's something you can pull from to live. If your job stopped working for you, if your career stopped working for you, same for your car. Once that's paid off, that's no longer a liability. That's considered an asset. Yes, cars depreciate, but anything that's paid off, you can always use it for something to bring in income. And we help you understand that. Financial accounts, you may have a Roth IRA, an IRA, a CD, something that's saving something for you. That's dealing with that. Liabilities, anything that's outstanding is a liability. So in your book, I'm going to pause right here. In your book, there's some actual fundamental pages that will allow you to actually calculate this and get a big picture for where you are today in your mindset and in your practices and in your priorities, and then help you see your picture more clearly. It's easy up here. It's real easy up here to try to go, I think I'm about here, I'm thinking I'm about there, but once it's in your face, once it's written down, it means something different, doesn't it? It paints a whole nother picture. So I want you guys to actually have your own picture. I would encourage you to take that before we come back for the second part of the day and actually fill in what those things represent for you, so that you can truly know your big picture, so you can plan successfully. Okay? So I'm going to stop here and just say, these are our foundations today. All the other will build itself. I have cards out there if you ever want to set an appointment, any of that, we can do that. But this is what I want to focus most on, because many of us don't have a healthy foundation. So let me know if you have any questions regarding any of the activities in the workbooks, if you have any questions regarding anything I've said. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what I want to say, I don't have a question, because I may be the oldest person in the room, because I'm older than Janice.
Are you?
Oh, yes, I am. And everything she has said is absolutely correct. My husband and I have built a lot of things doing exactly what she said. One thing I wanted to pass on that came to me when I was praying years ago was, every time you make a payment, I don't care if it's on a credit card, I don't care if it's in your check, every time you do it, say, there's plenty more where that came from. Do not base that on your balance on your checkbook. You base that in your head of where that came from to begin with. And the other thing that I wanted to pass on is that in 1980,